welcome to the CNBC TV 18 special. I'm Shireen Bhan. We're at the IKEA India headquarters in conversation with the global CEO. Peter, appreciate you joining us here on CNBC TV 18. It's good to have you here in India. I believe your last trip to India was in 1996. It's a very different country, but similar in a lot of ways. What's your own sense about what's changed and what's remained the same?
Well, I've been actually to India since 1996 a couple of times, but my first trip was in the mid-90s. Well, I think that to a great deal India is the same, but at the same time also quite a few things has been changing. The first time when I came to India, infrastructure was maybe not as developed as today. Buildings has evolved. There's a metro today that wasn't present then, and we see a lot more women, for instance, in the workforce. So of course we see that India is in a great transformation, but we also see that many things are the same. People are lively, people care about their families, and traditions are important.
The bureaucracy?
The bureaucracy, I think, is improving and is taking important steps forward, but I think most countries still have a lot to do on that field.
But let's talk about the India opportunity, and I ask you this in the context of what you are seeing as far as your international operations are concerned. China is the fastest growing market and continues to be the fastest growing market for IKEA. Russia, Hungary are other markets that are doing very well for you. So both in terms of contribution from the international markets for IKEA globally and how India is expected to stack up in that international market portfolio as and when your operations start here.
No, true. We see that of course, if you say emerging markets, the newer IKEA markets from a retail perspective are growing very fast. China, as you said, Russia. But we also see that Europe has really picked up a lot lately. And actually in euros, the biggest growth last year we had in Germany. So there's actually quite a lot of positive motion going on in Europe. Then we are, of course, having a great interest in getting going in new markets. And India is more than a market, it's even a continent in a way as we see it. And we do look forward to that. It will play an important contribution on the retail side. It has been an important market to IKEA already for 20 years back, 28 years back from a sourcing perspective, and it will continue to be important there. We're planning to double our purchasing in the coming period. So yes, it is an important market, but it will become an even more important market also from a retailing perspective.
I'll talk to you about India and the sourcing opportunity in just a second, but I want to get your sense on what you're seeing in China, because at this point in time everyone is concerned about how bad things are in China. Are we likely to see the situation get far worse before it starts to get better? It's not showing up in your numbers just yet. You have about 16 stores in China.
Yeah, no, I think we don't see that at all. We see that our business is actually developing very well in China. It was one of our fastest growing markets last year, and we don't really see any strong signs that on the contrary, it's actually continuing to develop rather well. Then I think everything is relative, but still China is holding up, and we believe in China. We're continuing to invest in China. Currently we're at the pace of building 3 new stores per year, and we will continue that in the coming future too, as well as we see a lot of growth in our existing units.
Okay, let's talk about India now. Is the pace of setting up operations in India, would you compare that equivalent to what you saw, for instance, in China or other emerging markets, or do you believe that the pace is significantly slower here in India? Because you've been around for 28 years as far as sourcing is concerned. Retail operations, another story, once the regulatory approvals came in, but you're only just been able to acquire land in Hyderabad. The store itself will be set up about a year and a half down the line. Is the pace slower than what you had anticipated?
Well, I think what we see is that to establish a new IKEA country, and especially a big country like India that will eventually be, requires a lot of groundwork and to setting the right preconditions from the beginning. Once you get that right, I think the expansion as such actually can go a little bit faster down the line. But it is about getting all the activities behind the scene sorted out from the beginning. The value chain, the distribution, the warehousing, and all of that in order to then build the store and start the retailing operation.
So the starting the store is actually the easy part, right?
Yes, it is actually. It's not easy, but the
easier part.
The easier part, I would say, because yes, if you sort out all the engineering behind the scene, then the stores will come rather easily, I believe. But of course, even that is not easy. As you said, there has been regulation in place that has prevented us. That obstacle is now removed, and then you have to identify size. You have to identify plots to where you can construct, and our operation is normally fairly sizable, so it has to be big plots, they have to be zoned for retailing, you have to get the building permit, you have to do the tendering process, you have to do the construction, employ the people, fill up the stores with goods.
So has it taken longer to do all of that in India in comparison to China or Russia or Hungary or any of the other international markets that you operate?
Well, I think what you can say, the answer is yes, and it has done so because of regulation that has been in place, and for us also to understand all the work that needs to be happening behind the scenes. But of course we are also building that knowledge now, and I would also like to say that we're spending more efforts in actually getting it right from the beginning nowadays in any new market that we do. But then of course the great advantage with that is hopefully that we will be able to scale up and to continue the expansion a little bit faster than we've done in the past.
So speak to us about scaling up and expanding operations in India, because so far there have been sort of caveated comments coming in from the India team in terms of the kind of expansion that we can expect in India. I know that you're in conversation with a bunch of state governments. You could be looking at the state of Maharashtra, Karnataka, Uttar Pradesh, I believe, has been speaking with IKEA as well. What should we expect in terms of expansion and in terms of store growth here?
Well, I think right now all our focusing is really to getting the first store up and running, and that will very likely be in Hyderabad. It could be somewhere else, depends on the other opportunities. We are looking into different opportunities across India. We are paying a special focus, I'd say, on Delhi, in Mumbai, in Bangalore, Hyderabad, and possibly some places more. And we think that we should start actually clustering our stores a bit in order to get the value chain up and running behind the scenes. So that's a little bit how we're planning the entry of the market, of course, to build distribution capacity and to continue to build the supply side, not only to fulfill the requirement of the 30% legislation. I think we have to go beyond that if we should be long-term successfully in India, and that's what we are working upon as a first step, to 30%, but also the things beyond that. You know,
speaking of the IKEA value chain here in India and the sourcing opportunity, and you said that you expect the sourcing opportunity to double. In what time period are you looking at doubling sourcing from India, and what would that mean then in terms of incremental investments here?
Well, I think yes, IKEA is overall we've decided to grow. We have agreed to grow the business from about 25 billion euros to 50 billion euros.
By 2020.
By 2020, and we're on our way right now. I believe that it's not unlikely to say that we would double our purchasing activities in India by the same time frame, meaning to go from 3 to maybe 600 million euros. And of course that requires us to find the right suppliers, the right raw materials, the right competencies in order to grow IKEA in the right way. But the opportunities are here. We see a lot of engaged entrepreneurs, women and men across the country, and we just hope that we can stimulate that in the best possible way to cater for our needs and for the needs of our customers.
So sourcing could go to 600 million by 2020?
Something like that.
Okay. You know, India, and I ask you this about how you read the culture and what that means in terms of IKEA. We're not a DIY culture. You know, how are you going to be able to deal with that? Are you looking, for instance, to offer some sort of IKEA certification to local carpenters, etc., who will come and then DIY it for you? So what can we expect on that front? And what's been the learnings of the study that you've undertaken over the last 2 years that you've started looking at retail in India seriously?
Well, now what we do is that we investigate what's life at home. What are the needs? What are the dreams? What are the frustrations? Tuesday morning when the family is getting together, off to school, off to work. And based on that, we try to figure out how can we create solutions that would stimulate a better everyday life at home for the many people of India. And that's what we've been spending a lot of time on to figuring out. And
so how Indian will the solutions be?
Well, I think the solutions will be very Indian, but we also see that in reality the needs are quite universal. You know, it's not only in India where you need a bed to sleep in.
No.
It's not only in India where you need a table to have breakfast. So the similarities are they are great, and we see that we can build upon what we have learned from other markets. But of course we have to tailor it and tweak it to the size of the Indian homes, the way that you dine together, etc., etc., in order to create relevant solutions.